Okay, so in the 1990s, 1997 to be more exact, you had Marvel give Domino her own solo series. And honestly, it kind of felt like it was the right move to take. And the reason why, because in the 1990s, for Domino, she was one of the few popular characters that came out of X-Force. Now, that was not me saying like there were some characters on X-Force that wasn't popular, just that some of them are more popular than the others, like Cable, for example, and also Shatterstar. But for Domino, she was probably one of the more popular characters on X-Force. And of course, for Marvel, they had to give her her own solo series as well. Now, technically, it was only a limited series, but for me personally, still a solid one. But as we get into the opening pages of this storyline, we do pick up with a character known as Milo Thurman. Now, for Milo Thurman, he is a new character, but he has a superpower brain that basically helps him figure out when certain things are going to pop off across the nation. And so when he came to the American government, they locked him away to basically use his brain as a way to figure out when certain things are going to happen in the nation. Now, we do learn that he's being overwatched by Henry Gyrich. Now, for Henry Gyrich, he's very upset with Milo. And the reason why, because Milo did not figure out that the whole onslaught event would happen when it came to Charles Xavier. And so for Henry, it's him informing Milo that he needs to get his act together, or sooner or later, they're going to go ahead and cut him loose. Now, as we do switch over to Domino, we see Domino right now just out there having a good old time, having a vacation away from X Force and also the rest of the X family. And so we see her having fun right now at this festival. But while trying to have fun, out of nowhere, she's attacked by somebody who's currently wearing this jester suit. Now, as the battle goes on, we do learn that it is a character known as Pico. Now, for Pico, he appeared in an earlier storyline. I want to say X-Force issue number 11. And he wasn't really ever a big time bad guy. Matter of fact, when it comes to Pico, he used to work for Tyler Dayspring, the son of Cable. But either way, it does seem like he's back again working for somebody else, but also got a few upgrades as well when it comes to cybernetic body parts. But either way, for Domino, she does have the ability to take down Pico in a matter of like seconds. Now we do switch back over to Henry Gyrich. When we do, it's really more Henry realizing that Milo is gone, that somebody was able to grab Milo. Now, for Henry Gyrich, he does ask computer like, okay, where is Milo? Computer says, oh, well, Milo is right now in the 13th cell, which of course, Henry Gyrich is currently standing in the 13th cell. And he realized the computer is completely wrong. And so you did have Henry ask computer like, okay, who deactivated the security system? And of course, the computer said, well, you did. And so, of course, for Henry, he's kind of like, great. We now have some intruder, which means we got to find them now, but also find Milo as well. Now, after taking down Pico, you then have Domino be confronted by a character known as Puck. Now, we had talked about Puck in the past in our earlier coverage over the X-Men. When it comes to Puck, he was part of Alpha Flight. And when it comes to Alpha Flight, they were the Canadian superhero team. Now, for Alpha Flight, they also worked for Department H as well, a Canadian government branch as well. But when it comes to Puck, the reason why he's there to see Domino is to inform her about Milo. Now, this is where we learn that apparently in the past, Domino and Milo were madly in love with one another, which honestly kind of brings the question, what happened between them that ended their whole love life? But either way, is Puck now informing Domino that her old lover is in danger at the moment, to the point where he might possibly die. And so this begins Domino trying to get information out of Puck, but also out of Pico as well. And so now we switch over to Domino working her way over to the facility where Milo was being kept at. And so you do have her being able to fight against some mandroids very easily thanks to her luck powers. But after she does take out a few mandroids, as she gets deeper and deeper into the actual facility, she realized that Somebody else was there and did some serious damage. Now, when she walks into Milo's cell, she realized it's empty, but he left behind his favorite book. Now, while you do have Domino trying to figure out what exactly happened here, that is when she's then confronted by no other than Lady Deathstrike. And so, as we dive into the second chapter of the storyline, the first half, or the first like good few pages of the second chapter, is really more of us just seeing Domino fighting against Lady Deathstrike. Now, for me personally, can I say I love the artwork in this book? Like, it's kind of really early 90s for me. But either way, when it comes to Domino, as we all know, she has the ability of luck. And so, with the ability of luck on her side, even though at first it does seem like Lady Deathstrike might get the advantage over Domino and might possibly kill her off, for Domino, her luck works out for her once again, where she does use some explosives that do perfectly placed right underneath Lady Deathstrike to allow Domino the ability to escape. Now, once she was able to escape from Lady Deathstrike, we are then given a flashback. Now, with this flashback, we do learn like how Domino met Milo. And we learn here that apparently she was given this security job to watch over Milo at this facility. Now, we also learn here that Milo is not a mutant. That matter of fact, when it comes to Milo, he's just that freaking smart, that he has studied the past so much that he was able to predict things in the future. Now, when it comes to Milo, we do learn how in the world he got caught by the government. You see, for Milo, at first, he would use his brains to kind of predict different things to happen in sporting events. So at first, it wasn't that major. But then over time, he tried to break into different government computers by using his brain to predict different codes to allow him to get into government computers. And so, of course, he got caught, but of course, they want to use him now for future events to happen across the world, but especially in the nation. Now, while you had Domino on that security job, it gave her the chance to kind of sit down and talk to him. And of course, he did spit some game to be able to get her to fall in love with him. Now we do learn like who had kidnapped Milo as we do switch over to the old Weapon X facility. Now when we do, we pick up with a character known as Skullbuster. Now Skullbuster, he works for another character, the main bad guy of the book, and that would be Donald Pierce. Now, when it comes to Donald Pierce is the leader for a group called the Reavers. Now, the Reavers are a group of people that were turned into cyborgs by the hands of Donald Pierce. Now, we technically don't know what he wants with Milo, but you do have Donald Pierce tell Skullbuster to get Milo ready to slowly turn into, well, a cyborg. Now, as we do switch back over to Domino, it's Domino right now trying her best to set charges all over the place to blow up the entire facility that she's currently at. The problem is that she's once again confronted by Lady Deathstrike, who of course just never stays down. And so with her being back, this leads into round two. But the problem is that for Domino, she's trying her best to get the heck out of there before the entire place gets blown up. Well, unfortunately, she can't escape, which of course means that the entire place gets blown up inside with Domino and also Lady Deathstrike. And we're kind of left to wonder like, okay, did Domino survive? Now, once you do have Domino wake up, she realized that unfortunately, she's now back at the old Weapon X facility. But on top of that, she's now being confronted by Donald Pierce. And so, as we dive into the final chapter of the storyline, we really do pick up with Domino now being confronted by Donald Pierce. And it's really more Donald Pierce telling us, like, what is his end goal here when it comes to Milo. What he wants to do is turn Milo into a cyborg. And the reason why, because with Milo's brain still being part of his cyborg body in the future, well, then Donald Pierce will be able to control that body and that mind, but also use Milo's Milo's ability to predict things in the future. Now, you also have Donald Pierce explain how in the world he came back to life. You see, the last time we saw Donald Pierce, it was that he was killed off by a character known as Fitzroy. Now, when it comes to Fitzroy, he was part of the Upstart organization. The Upstart organization was this group of people who would kill other power beings as a way to earn points. It was a very sick game. But when it came to Fitzroy, he went after the Reavers, including Donald Pierce. Now, we were kind of left to believe that the Reavers were killed off, that Donald Pierce was killed off, but in reality, he wasn't. He was basically shut down. Now, there was a trade done with Donald Pierce and another organization. And so this other organization got Donald Pierce's body and began to rework him, reprogram him, and gave him a new directive. And so right now, it's just him trying to finish that new directive that was downloaded into his mind. Now, with that story being told to us, you then have Donald Pierce tell Lady Deathstrike and also Skullbuster to go ahead and take Domino away to get her ready for the actual process of turning into a cyborg. Now, for Milo, he's still being somewhat tortured, but at the same time, it's really more Donald Pierce still getting his body ready for the actual process of turning into a cyborg. Now, for Milo, this is him beginning to think back to the day where he believed that Domino had died because he had no idea that she was alive. So getting into that flashback, you see, with the flashback, we do learn that for Milo, when he was still a prisoner of the government, he was technically locked away in this facility, but somebody in the government has shared the information about his location. And so with AIM, they wanted to grab, well, for AIM, they believe they were grabbing a computer, but in reality, they were grabbing, well, him. Milo. Now, around that time for Milo, he had somebody watching over him. That was Domino. And so for Domino, while she was fighting against AIM, there was this small explosion where, of course, a bunch of things fell on top of her. But the government told Milo that Domino had died fighting against AIM. But in reality, she had survived. And this kind of leads into a quick ending because you do have Domino being able to break away from Skullbuster and also Lady Deathstrike and being able to take them down, but to also work her way back over to Donald Pierce. Now, once she does confront Donald Pierce, we see her being able to take him down, and you think at first that she'll have the ability to save Milo's life. But by this point for Milo, he was literally on the verge of death and having his mind transfer into a cyborg body. And so for Milo, he tells Domino, you gotta blow the place up. Go ahead and blow it up because if you don't, for Donald Pierce, he'll then be able to use my mind for his own purpose. And so for Domino, unfortunately, she now has to say goodbye to the man she loved. And so just like that, she kissed him goodbye and she blows up the entire facility. And so the book kind of ends on a note where for Domino, she lost the man she truly loved. And the book really ends on the note where you do have Domino run back into Puck, and when she does, it's really more Puck kind of wondering like, hey, did her good luck powers work for her again where she was able to save the life of Milo? But unfortunately, you have Domino inform Puck that she was not able to save the life of Milo. And the book really ends on that note right there. When it comes to Milo, he does not reappear ever in Marvel Comics. Like he's mentioned like one or two times, but that's really it. But with that being said, guys, please leave me a like down below and subscribe. But guys, see y'all next time. Later.